Hi, I'm First Alert meteorologist Melanie Layden. You may be seeing all the weather headlines this week about the term Pineapple Express. But no, it's not that hit movie from the early 2000s. It's actually a meteorological term, and it's something very real that's happening to folks out in the Southern California region. So let's take a look here at satellite and radar. What we're seeing now is really nothing across Middle Tennessee. You can see here that we're looking at really just mostly clear skies, maybe a quick little shower or two, but it is a much different story the further west we look. And if you look out into California, really the western half of the country, we're looking at a lot of rain coming down in that part of the country. And the reason why is because of what we call a Pineapple Express or atmospheric rivers. And you might be seeing that really all over your news feed this week. And here's a look at some of the winter alerts that we're seeing too. It has to do with rain. It also can be from snow as well. A lot of places out west are seeing some winter weather advisories, a lot of snow that's going to bring a lot of moisture to the area as well. And meteorologists are actually warning people in Southern California to prepare for the possibility of life-threatening flooding this weekend. A second, more powerful atmospheric river-fueled storm will be moving into the region as early as tomorrow night. That's Sunday night, and it's going to last well into next week. The National Weather Service says more than a month's worth of rain could fall, and widespread rainfall could total between 3 and 6 inches. That's a lot of rain for folks in California. That's also on top of the torrential rain that the region experienced back just yesterday on Thursday. It resulted in a lot of water rescues there. Check this out. We had so much flooding in places in California. This is out in the Santa Barbara area, Long Beach. A lot of places had cars literally submerged in water. So water rescues happened there. Since that ground is already really saturated, the Weather Service is warning it could take much less for flash flooding to occur. So just a little bit of rain could cause a lot of problems there. The two storms combined could possibly produce the amount of rainfall that the area typically sees during its 4 rainiest months combined. So we're talking about a ton of water here. So an atmospheric river, or AKA Pineapple Express, that's what this generic term is. It's continued to slam into California. Again, it's pounding the state with heavy rain, snow. It's triggering road closures, rock slides. It could even produce some mudslides out there. And you can see here just really a lot of rain too. So this is going to be a second atmospheric river that's coming in this weekend. And basically that just means a ton of moisture. It stretches for miles and miles. The second one is coming in. It could be stronger than the first one that they saw. And it's expected to barrel into California late Saturday night into Sunday. Could last into Monday or Tuesday as well. Again, as I mentioned, it could cause power outages, mudslides, travel trouble, coastal erosion out there, a lot of property damage. So you can see it's already really causing a lot of problems out that way. And not even just rain, some winter alerts as well, as you can see right here. So we'll definitely be watching that closely. Now, as far as the impacts to us here in the mid-state, we're really not going to see any. This is really going to stay out west. You can see here on satellite and radar, mainly areas like California are going to get the brunt of this. But with that jet stream kind of pulling in closer to places like Salt Lake City, Denver, even Albuquerque seeing a lot of this rain, they could get a lot of rain dumped on them as well. But again, this is flooding rains that we're talking about, cars already being submerged underwater, and they could get about 3 to 6 more inches of that. Again, that Pineapple Express is what we call it. It's just really a long line of moisture. An atmospheric river is what we call it in the weather world, if you will. So a lot of rain for them. We'll be watching it closely for you. I know a lot of people are curious about this, but again, it's not going to affect us here in the mid-state. Meanwhile, we really need the rain here in the mid-state. We are looking at still kind of a drought across most of the area. Here's a look at our latest drought monitor. And you can see here that we're definitely chipping away at it. It's definitely still pretty bad out closer toward the southern tier of the mid-state. Notice places south of I-40 like Decaturville, Lawrenceburg, Centerville, still in a pretty severe drought. Places like Savannah under an extreme drought still. Nashville is now now technically not in a drought at the moment. We had all that snow that caused the snow melt that gave us a lot of moisture. We have all that rain from last week, so we've really made up for some lost time. We had some flooding issues in some spots across the mid-state last week as well. So we got a lot of rain that kind of helped make up for that. Areas of southern Kentucky now out of the drought completely. A couple of places still under a moderate drought. It will include places like the Cumberland Plateau, maybe a few places south of I-40 like Murfreesboro, McMinnville, Shelbyville. So we'll watch that closely. But as far as when will that drought end, National Weather Service is saying that it could be maybe the next 3 months or so. So good news ahead for us. Shouldn't be too much longer if all things go according to plan. But you know how Mother Nature is, doesn't always want to act appropriately, right? All right, and let's also talk about Groundhog Day. Today is Groundhog Day, a big national holiday, right? Well, Groundhog says we're going to get an early spring. So he says, some meteorologists say, I'm not so sure about that. So let's take a look at a couple of stats here. I'll pull these up for you so you can see on how often is Punxsutawney Phil actually right. Well, in the last 10 years or so, he's only been right 30% of the time. Oh my goodness. That's why you gotta trust the meteorologist. Hey, that's job security for me, right? Phil's predictions since the 1800s, when Groundhog Day became a thing, he's actually predicted over 100 times that we'll see more winter. That means he saw his shadow. 10 times since record keeping of this began, there was no record. I believe during the pandemic in 2020, they didn't do Groundhog Day. Or no, that was 2021, the year after, because the world shut down in March. It was February the next year. I believe they maybe didn't do it that year. But again, war times, pandemics, that's kind of affected a few things. And only 20 times has he ever predicted an early spring. So over 100 years, and this year, he's only predicted an early spring a couple of times. So no shadow is what he saw today. So he's saying we'll get an early spring. But look over on the right side of your screen here, and you can see since last year on, he really hasn't been right too often. And it looks like he did do it in 2020. Maybe he did it in 2021 as well. Maybe I'm just mistaken there. It does look like in 2020, he got it right. So he did not see his shadow. He predicted an early spring, and we did. We had above average temperatures in 2020 for February and for March ahead of that spring season. But that was also one of the hottest years on record too. So, you know, some people say that global warming's playing a little bit into this as well. Looks like also back in 2016, he was right too. He did not see his shadow, and we did have above average temperatures for February and March. He was right in 2014. He did see his shadow. He predicted more winter, and boy, did we get it. We had below average temperatures in February, slightly below average temperatures in March, and I looked it up. That year, most of the country saw a lot of snow. Notable here, which is kind of funny, in 2019, he got it really wrong. He did not see his shadow. So he predicted an early spring, but we had really frigid temperatures that year. And in fact, in 2019, Nashville even saw a lot of snow too. So a lot of snow, a lot of cold temperatures, just kind of a fun thing to take a look at. And you can see, you gotta trust your meteorologist on this. Okay, so I just want to recap for those of you who are just tuning in. We've been talking about a couple of different things here. What is a Pineapple Express? Boy, what a gorgeous day that we've seen here across the mid-state today, right? You can see out here in downtown Nashville, the bright blue skies. We've got the beautiful skyline, but it's a much different story of what folks out in California are dealing with. You can see here on satellite and radar, we are so dry, nothing to worry about, hardly any clouds in the sky. But take a look what's happening back to our west. We'll kind of slowly zoom out that way, and you can see a lot of rainfall coming down out that way. And we've been telling you, using this term here, you're probably seeing it all the headlines across the country. What is a Pineapple Express? what is this? No, it's not the movie that was really popular in the early 2000s with Seth Rogen. It's a movie about marijuana, actually, which has nothing to do with it. It is a meteorological term, and it's a term for a long stretch of moisture, a long stretch of rain, essentially. So we're getting miles and miles of what we call an atmospheric river, where rain is just being dumped on California right now. You can see here from these pictures, these images, cars literally submerged underwater. So if you're just tuning in, we've been talking about this. Meteorologists are calling for life-threatening flooding situations as we head into this weekend and early next week for parts of southern Cali. That includes Los Angeles. That includes Long Beach, is what you're looking at right here. A lot of big cities really seeing some threat to their properties, to their cars. Again, life-threatening. And it's all because of this Pineapple Express. So what it is a second more powerful atmospheric river-fueled storm. And again, what that is just miles and miles of moisture in the air. It's kind of a stretching off of the jet stream, if you will. And it's just dumping a whole lot of rain on that region. National Weather Service says that as early as tomorrow night, they're going to get some more rain. It could be more than a month's worth of rain for what they usually see for this time of the year. 3 to 6 inches. And you know, California just really doesn't get a whole lot of rain. But they've already been seeing a lot of it, and they're going to get even more. On top of that torrential rain, there was already some water rescues yesterday. They're preparing for more. They've got boots on the ground for this weekend. Their emergency personnel are gearing up to help rescue people from their homes even. It's getting that bad, inches and inches of water. These two storms combined, as I mentioned, could produce more rain, really, than the whole area even sees in a whole couple of months. They're 4 rainiest months combined. So this is not even just rain. A lot of areas back there are actually getting some snow too. And when that snow melts, it's, that's moisture as well. It's got to go somewhere. That snow melt is causing a lot of problems too in places like Colorado, Utah that you see there. A lot of these areas that were known for their skiing, they're going to get a lot of snow, and that is eventually going to melt and cause a lot of flooding issues out that way too. Again, impacts from this can include travel troubles. It can include maybe property damage, people getting rescued, mudslides even. So we're definitely watching this very closely. Again, you can see here these images of what we're seeing, just a lot of rain there in that particular area. So we'll watch it closely for you. You can see on the screen there a whole lot of weather alerts going on. So we'll be watching it very closely. As far as impacts here to the mid-state, don't worry, we're not going to see many of those at all. In fact, none of it. We might get a little rain over the weekend, but for the most part, we're not going to deal with any flooding issues, nothing like this that they've been dealing with. So that's the good news for us. Speaking of, we actually could use some rain. We've been talking about this drought that we've been in, really since the late summer into early fall. It's still here. It's still continuing. So how much longer could we see a drought? Let's take a look here at our drought map. Let me pull that up for you. And you can see we're definitely chipping away at it. South of I-40 is still the area that sees the heaviest drought that's still in effect. Areas like Savannah, still under an extreme drought. But remember, just a few weeks ago, before we had that big snow in January, much of southern Middle Tennessee was under an extreme drought. A moderate drought still in effect for places like Waverly, Murfreesboro, maybe parts of Livingston, and a few spots in the Cumberland Plateau down to Shelbyville. A severe drought still in effect for folks in Decaturville, Lawrenceburg, Centerville. Nashville, though, in those yellow areas you see, we're actually technically not in a drought. We're just still dry. And dry is not really a drought. It's we're almost there, but all that rain that we saw last week, all the snow we got last week as well, definitely has helped us out with that. So the drought hopefully should be done here pretty soon. And according to the National Weather Service, the next 3 months or so, if things all go according to plan, we should be looking much better as far as that drought is concerned. We should be getting enough rainfall. I mentioned to you a couple of days ago that actually February is a good month for snow here in the mid-state. I know we don't need much more of that. After January, I know a lot of us are just done with the snow, but it is possible. On average, Nashville does get about 1.5 inches of snow every February. So we could get some more snow. We could get some more rain as well. About 5 inches of rain or so is pretty average for this time of the month. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully by the time spring does arrive, maybe the groundhog will be right. Maybe we'll see an early spring. We'll get some more rain to pull us out of this drought, and we'll see nice warm temperatures and not have to worry about it. All right, guys. Well, that's a look at what's going on with your weather headlines for today. Make sure to keep up with us on air and online. You can catch all of our newscasts live on TV or right here at the palm of your hand. You can stream us live on the free WSMV4 First Alert weather app. Have a great day.